What is happening at the judicial level is a lot of our lower courts, whether it's the federal district courts or the federal circuit courts, they are at work trying to push back on the new Trump era policies. Trump wants to shut down a lot of the funding for USAID. The judiciary is saying no. Trump wants to shut down the funding for gender bender ideology, and all of a sudden the judiciary is saying you can't do that. And so what was happening is we have a lot of rogue judges making rulings against the Trump administration without any constitutional basis in their rulings whatsoever. So this is something that we've seen for years. Popular conservative presidents or governors or legislators want something done, and the judiciary stops it. And a lot of the things that the judiciary is doing is outside of their bounds of ruling, because they don't have any constitutional authority for their ruling. So they become sort of like an oligarchical, unelected ruling class trying to stop the decay of evil by a popular conservative Republican president. And so here are some people, House Republicans, saying we're going to investigate these judges, and when we find them to be out of line, we're going to impeach these judges. Now, I would say that's a good start, but there's something more you can do. You know, the impeachment process is very, very difficult. You've got to get an accusation, I guess, of a crime being committed by a majority in the House. And then it's the Senate that hears the evidence, and they have to vote for removal of office. I think the number is like 2/3 of the senators that have to vote for removal from office, which is a high legal standard to meet. But there's something much more basic that conservatives in the House can use and can do to keep these rogue judges in line. And so I want to draw your attention, if I could, to Article 3, which governs the judiciary. Article 3, Section 1 of the United States Constitution. It says this: the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. Let me read to you one more section here from Article 3. Article 3, of course, is the part of our Constitution that governs our judiciary. Article 3, Section 2 says, in all other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction both as to law and fact, with such exceptions and under such regulations as the Congress shall make. I emphasize the language as the Congress may in Article 3, Section 1, and as the Congress shall make in Article 3, Section 2. In other words, all of these lower court federal judges and courts that are stopping our slowdown into the New World Order, none of these courts and none of these judges are even mentioned in the United States Constitution. The Supreme Court, yes, but not these lower court judges. Then why do they exist? They exist because Congress at some point brought them into existence. The Constitution, as I've read to you the relevant parts, allows Congress to bring these lower courts into existence. Well, guess what? If Congress brought these lower courts into existence, Congress can bring them out of existence. Congress can abolish them. Congress can get rid of them. I mean, they serve under the pleasure of the United States Congress. And if I'm reading Article 3, Section 2, and Section 1 correctly, Congress has the ability to control their jurisdiction. In other words, Congress has the ability to control what kind of cases they hear. And it would be a very easy thing of Congress to say, you can't hear that kind of case anymore. I mean, either we're going to abolish you or get rid of you, or we're going to say, you can hear this kind of case, but you can't hear that kind of case. You know, when the President of the United States is trying to curtail spending to slow down the progress of evil, and you come along and you try to put handcuffs on the President of the United States, Congress can step in and say, guess what? We're going to abolish you, or this is the kind of case you can't hear anymore. In other words, the control of these rogue, radical judges that are now coming against the President of the United States are completely under the power and under the control of Congress. And so I appreciate what these two House Republicans are doing in terms of trying to form a task force to root out partisans and to impeach rogue judges. We have to understand that the impeachment process is very difficult. It's very cumbersome. It's only been tried a few times in American history. It's only been successful very few times in American history. And there's another path they can take. And that path is clearly spelled out in Article 3, Section 1, and Section 2. All Congress has to say is, look, you rogue court, you oligarchical court, we brought you into existence and we can take you out of existence. And if we don't want to take you out of existence, we could limit your jurisdiction. And so a lot of people in Washington kind of like to scream and yell and throw up their hands as if there's no solution to these rogue judges, but there is a solution. And it's found in our own founding document, the United States Constitution.